Right now, an important court proceeding is happening around NXIVM, the Hollywood politically connected human trafficking, quote, self-help group. And luckily, we're able to get all the details that are emerging. And sadly, they are very disturbing, to say the least. Now, there was a motion filed by one of the alleged founders of this cult that wanted a mistrial. Luckily, the mistrial was denied by a judge, and the court proceedings are continuing, and we're getting new graphic details. There's even a woman coming forward with more important accusations against Keith Raniere. There's also a video, Jason. There's a lawyer comparing himself to Winston Churchill at Dunkirk. What is happening here around this very, very politically connected cult and this court proceeding, Jason?
So NXIVM out of Clifton Park, a place that's very, very close to myself, has now had their only trial. Remember, Mack, Salzman, Bronfman, they all pleaded down. Claire Bronfman especially, in what I would say is a complete sweetheart deal, since they had her on dozens of racketeering charges, including getting visas for many, many women who did not pass the test to come into the United States, lie about them, say they were teachers, put them at the Rainbow Cultural Gardens they not only have in this country, but throughout the world, where they would watch and teach toddlers, okay? Why were they there? Well, not only to do that, but also to have sex with Raniere. And somehow Claire Bronfman gets a sentence of 21 to 72 months, $6 million in restitution, and if they actually give her more than 27 months, guess what? She gets to appeal that. Now, it has hit the courts that Raniere...
But Jason, really quickly, before we get into the latest update, that's nothing compared to what they're accused of. I mean, we're not just talking about branding. We're talking about psychologically abusing people. Women are coming forward saying that they were forced to have sexual encounters when they did not want to have sexual encounters. This is serious. And again, I believe what she got was definitely a slap on the wrist. And all the pressure right now is being put on Keith Raniere here. But all the blame doesn't just lay with him. It lays with a lot of other people too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, like I just discussed with you, those visas came through Claire Bronfman. They would not have gotten here otherwise. And when you look at the diets that they had to put these girls on, because when you look at how old some of these girls are, how do you even call them girls? I mean, they're kids. They had strict diets where the one girl, who was 15 years old, and we'll get to her in a moment, was at 88 pounds. And who at the behest of? Claire Bronfman and Keith Raniere. Now, they're presented yesterday in court with video of Raniere talking about having sex with 12-year-old girls and the legal age of consent being from 12 to 17 in other countries. This should not be a shock, as the person who came forward first as a witness is 15. She is 15, and she is the one who's testifying right now. Not only is she 15, Luke, let me let some people in. She went there with her 3 sisters. One of those sisters, Luke, is the girl, one of the 2 girls, that was held hostage in a room for almost 2 years as a sex slave for Raniere and his friends. And when she showed interest in another man, not only did they threaten to take her back to Mexico, they did take her back to Mexico. They literally took her back to Mexico. And a lot of people are, trying to let Allison Mack, the most high-profile actress involved in this, give her a pass. Let me tell you something. After reading these court documentations and what's been brought up, this woman actually signed a contract with Raniere that if Raniere were to impregnate her and she left him, he would have custody of the child. If at any moment she did not want to have him rule her life, in other words, she pledged her life to him, he would take her property. And then if she pursued anything outside and left, guess what? He had a letter already written and ready to go to social services on behalf of child abuse allegations by Allison Mack on her male nephews. Think about how insane that is. Yeah. So a man who is literally openly with his followers having sex with underage girls. We've talked about some of the other ones that are not the 15-year-old girl, by the way. The FBI is now investigating into the claims of 11 and 12-year-old girls. Okay? Think about this. That's actually happening, and he has her sign a contract for blackmail where he accuses her of the exact same thing he's doing. It's insane.
Yeah. It's important to note here the New York Post specifically says Raniere also has been accused, though never charged with raping a girl hundreds of times when she was 12 and 13 years old. Many people, make this akin to Satanism and the occult here. There's been a lot of that too, but this case is creepy. I'm happy at least it's going forward in some way. I'm happy there wasn't the motion for dismissal was not allowed here. There still is so much information coming forward. There's even videos of literally huge carts of documents being put in, filed into the courtroom. So this is going to be a very long hearing, and already what we're finding out is extremely, extremely, extremely disturbing, to say the least. And the lawyer here, he seems pretty crazy himself.
Yeah, let's not forget that Claire Bronfman, immediately as these arrests started happening, put down $5 million for Keith Raniere's legal fund. So this is a pretty good lawyer. And being a pretty good lawyer, he tries to make his client seem like the victim. And he starts comparing Keith to Winston Churchill and starts talking about Atticus Finch. The famous To Kill a Mockingbird story where Atticus Finch defends a black man who's been wrongly accused. Well, let me tell you something. Keith has not been wrongly accused. And even if, which I do not believe with all the documentation out there, all the eyewitness accounts, these women were doing this under their own duress. In other words, they weren't being forced to. Some of them were not women. They were children. This is a trafficking operation. And again, if you read these documents, they were not allowed to charge him with child pornography. Originally in March, both him and Mac had been charged with child porn and then possible child sex trafficking. That went by the wayside because of jurisdiction. This is a federal trial, and they're now saying if they actually want to be tried for those crimes, although those crimes are being brought up in this trial, they're not charging him with them, it has to go to state court. But I want to remind everybody, Lauren Salzman, Nancy Salzman, Kathy Russell, Allison Mack, all of them have already pled guilty. The majority of them have already made deals. All right. Who hasn't made a deal? Raniere. So I got to wonder if they're going to let him take the fall here, Luke, or somehow, some way, he's going to get a sweetheart deal just like Claire did. Because let's be honest, even if they sentence her to, let's say, the max they can without her appealing, 27 months, that's less than 2.5 years, and she will probably only serve about half that sentence.
Yeah. And again, as I said, it looks like it's a complete just slap on the wrist here. And I was going to ask you, like, where do you think this is going to go? Because again, they've been filing motions for mistrial. And if there's a mistrial, everything just automatically goes away with this larger proceedings with this main kind of figurehead here left, Keith Raniere. So again, I'm happy that the judge denied this motion for dismissal. There's going to be a lot more information coming forward. But again, I mean, look what we have here. We have a Hollywood politically connected group that has been in trouble for trying to politically finance Hillary Clinton. Again, akin to a satanic group. Very disturbing videos coming out. And Jason, gee whiz, who would have thought a cult organization that many people call a satanic human trafficking organization wanting to go out of its way for Hillary Clinton? Gee whiz, who would have thought that would have happened? This case is absolutely insane, but just shows you how crazy things could get. That's my take on it. Anything else you want to say here, Jason? And should we close it off here?
Yeah, I want to go back to what you were just talking about, Hillary Clinton. So just so people understand how nuts this trial is, here's a New York Post article from 2007, okay, almost 12 years ago, where they detail how NXIVM was donating to Hillary Clinton. Well, how does this come into being charged later in racketeering? Well, what was going on was that Claire Bronfman and Nancy Salzman were promising members of NXIVM that they would reimburse them the largest donation they could possibly give to Hillary Clinton in her initial presidential primary run all the way back in 2007. Fast forward to today, Luke, and in those documents, guess what? They don't even mention Hillary Clinton. They say a primary presidential candidate. They dare not mention that Hillary Clinton was involved in this, despite the fact that we know that Hillary Clinton was mentored by Claire and Sarah Bronfman's father, the head of the World Jewish Congress, the Seagram's billionaire, the guy who was involved heavily in MGM and the entertainment industry, Edgar Bronfman, a man who got the Medal of Freedom by who? Hillary Clinton's own husband, Bill Clinton. And you bet your ass she was right by his side as he put that medal on him. That's just great. And where's our mainstream media? It's nowhere to be found. Instead, they're using Raniere as the sole scapegoat, and they would rather have you forget about all the other details we talked about today. But we're going to continue to talk about those details because we do 4 videos a day across 2 separate platforms, News for a Change and We Are Change. Make sure you are subscribed, ringing that bell for notifications, sharing this stuff on social media because no one else will. We can't. And being the change you want to see in the world.